What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I'm your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
And welcome to our newest, most updated, best version of Motivation Monday. So 2 big announcements to start off Motivation Monday right here. We're going to add a little segment about where we are in our journey, what we're working towards, and what our personal aspirations are in terms of what we're struggling with, what we're narrowing on our journey, and how we're trying to get more results. So both myself and Kyle, we're going to see how it fits. I think it'll add a little bit more of a personal aspect, and you'll get some really good takeaways learning about the things that we're still focusing on after 10 years of lifting here, which is fantastic. The second thing, if you're listening on Spotify, they have a Q&A. So if you're actually listening to it right now and you click it and make it big screen, you can actually go ahead and leave a comment, respond directly to us. We've been checking it every week, and I've been loving seeing the comments before we even announced it. So if you want to say something to us, if you want to submit a question, if you have a comment on the episode, if you want to say something you love from the episode, you can now directly essentially comment on this episode. It won't be public, but it will go right to me and Kyle. And we'd really like the feedback, and we'd love to hear how you like the new segment today. So if you're able to do that, it'd mean the world. If you're YouTube gang, first of all, what's up? You the best, and you can go ahead and comment right down below. Nice and easy. You can do the same, and that'll be absolutely great. But those are 2 new exciting components of this. But of course, we still got the fundamentals of what makes these episodes great, much like our quotes of the week. Let's kick it off with Kyle's quote.
So my quote this week, I just had to dig into my notes from the conference. I'm still on a high from that and just excited and inspired from that. And one thing that really stood out to me was her name was Jen, I think it's Gottlieb. I may be pronouncing the last name wrong, but she had said, simple, it was 4 words, start before you're ready. And I just thought that was so powerful because it's a very simple couple words, and it doesn't go into crazy detail, but I just think a lot of people wait until that perfect moment when you feel like you're 100% ready, or even just you're so comfortable that you've been ready for a while, but you want to make sure you're 100% ready. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to something in your life, and I especially apply this to our fitness journey because once again, there will never be a perfect time. I know I've said it before over and over and over again, but I just really want to highlight that for any of you who's just starting to think of the new year, I'm waiting until January 1st, waiting for a promotion, waiting for, a kid to be a certain age, whatever that is, start before you're ready. You're never going to regret it. And it's going to be something that you're going to see 3 months of progress before versus waiting until a certain point. So start before you're ready. I hope that helps. And I hope that means something to you.
Yeah, a lot of the times you just got to go out and do what needs to be done. It's not a metric of doing what you feel like doing. If you want to be great, you got to do those hard things. You just got to get out there, get it done. And the truth is you'll never be ready. If you wait for all the stars to align and the gym to be absolutely perfectly dead and you to feel fantastic and the weather to be great, it's just not going to happen. And that's where a lot of people go wrong. And that one day just continues to be a one day. Instead, it should be today, right now. So if you've been putting something off, this is a great call to just get it done. Add it to your list for the day, crank it out today. Get a lot of mental clarity from that, because every day you're not doing those things you should be doing. You're carrying that stress, you're carrying that anxiety, knowing you're not living to your purpose, your potential, to what needs to be done. And it's weighing on you every day. I should get in shape. I should get in shape. I need to go to the gym. And every day you're carrying that. So you can give yourself a lot of mental freedom and happiness from just getting out there and getting it done right away. So that was a killer quote. And we're going to jump into mine now. And my quote is, the bad news is time flies. The good news is you're the pilot. Now I wanted to share this because I was going back to some of our first episodes and looking at some of the questions from there that we haven't updated on in a while. And that's where actually the questions from this episode were inspired. Well, 2 of them at least were from some of our earliest episodes. And it's amazing to see how far we came. And I think it's only appropriate to reflect on that, with my quote being that time does indeed fly. But the truth is, you have the opportunity to use it. And to our point of starting before you're ready, if you're the pilot, you need to do what you actually want to do, because there's nothing worse than I wish, or that example of in the graveyard, all the unfulfilled dreams, things people had wished they'd done, the time they wish they'd spent. They wish they started their fitness earlier before they actually got in just horrible situations within their health. And don't let that be for you. Ask if you're actually living the life you want to be living, if you're doing the hard things that you know will actually make you feel better. Because it's easy to think you want a life of comfort and simplicity and staying up, just doing everything that makes you happy and just going from one stimulus to the next. But oftentimes that comes with a cost. It's very unfulfilling. It's very demotivating. And instead, doing those hard things actually makes you appreciate your rest more. And you know you're moving forward. You know you're developing. You know you're growing. So as a pilot, make sure you're flying to the right place. Don't crash your plane. Don't count yourself out. That was a quote I was excited to share this week.
Yeah, like we have complete control. And the second that we start to realize that, the second that we realize that we're leading, we're the pilot in our own journey, in our own life, like honestly, it's such a freeing feeling. I've been there before where I've just kind of put things on other people or just had that, like, I guess you could say reactive or victim mindset. But when you realize like every single thing that happens, it's on me, like I have complete control. I'm willing to bet you like anyone who doesn't have that mindset, the day that you start thinking that way and differently will be the day that your life changes. And I can guarantee and I can promise that because I've been there. We have complete control. So just a friendly reminder there.
Yeah, now we're going to go ahead and jump into our thoughts for this week. And one thought I had, and I was watching a video and I thought it really rang true, was the point that our goal in the gym and our goal with strength training is to effectively get stronger, perform better, get better contractions. And it's not to do the same weight week after week after week after week. You actively need to be challenging yourself to either increase your reps with the weight, so your actual volume with the weight, or the load of the weight itself by actively trying to get stronger. And I know a lot of people will come in, they'll spin their wheels, and I've called myself out on this before. It's so easy to say, oh, I lat pulled down 200 pounds and like it's super hard, so that's where I'm going to stay. But you can get a lot of advantage, even if you're a seasoned lifter, by using those micro plates. They have those little plates you can put on that are 5 pounds instead of 10 pound increments. They got 2.5 pound plates at gyms. You can put that on just about anything. A lot of the machines, instead of the 10 pound increments as well, they also have those drop downs like your hamstring extension. And like you should be fighting for inches, because in those inches are where the big results come. And you're cheating yourself. You're doing the same thing week after week. You're not going to be progressing. You're not going to be putting on more muscle, and you're effectively just working super hard to maintain. So I thought that was a good reminder, especially as I've been in this kick of avoiding all junk volume, to really just remind myself. And I've really been challenging myself, I guess, even going into the personal journey of actively trying to get stronger, to perform better, to get better contractions. And I think this is just a good call out for everyone. There's probably 1, 2, maybe most of your exercises that you're all too comfortable on, that you need to really say, okay, I'm going to bring it up. I'm actually going to be at that point of fatigue. I'm going to make it count. And yeah, like that's just something that was on my mind. And that was my thought for this week.
The thing that I was thinking about is I just think sometimes on our journey, we get so excited with like the new and exciting things. And I've been guilty of this in the past. Like, I guess I'm sharing some things that I've been guilty of, because whenever I think of things that I've done wrong, such as doing some crappy sets, some really bad reps, like all these things, I like to share it with you guys because we can learn so much. And like, I want to just have like those mistakes happen and then have you guys avoid them, so that way you can save time, money, energy. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, when it comes down to our journey, there will be boring moments. There will be those times where it's just not very exciting. I know on Instagram, these people are trying to make it the most fun and like just new exercise every single time. And we have these conversations, and I know some people will stop doing specific things on their journey, such as strength training, because they've been doing it for a while. They get bored of it. They want to switch it up. They want to do something different. And my challenge for you is to just be okay with doing the boring work, like being able to look past like, okay, this may be a little bit boring, but understanding the benefits that are going to be taking place. Like, I get that me doing a specific exercise, it may not be as much fun as going out and doing something a bit different, but I always look past that and know all the benefits that are taking place, what it's going to do for me for the long run. So when I go to do it and if I feel a little bit bored, I'm like, who cares? Like, it doesn't really matter. And even same with nutrition. I think that's where so many people struggle, is like, it needs to be that new and exciting thing. But I understand that, hey, it may be a little bit boring here. I can find ways to switch it up here and there, but even just getting used to the boring work. And there's a lot of like business coaches, and we'll hear people talk like Alex Hormozy, where they'll say, hey, doing those things that will get the results, like you just have to be okay with doing the boring work. You have to be excited by getting all that done. And I just think it's such a good reminder for anyone out there who's just thinking like, I'm a little bit bored, I want to switch it up. Like, nothing wrong with that. Just show up, know the benefits, and you will be in it for the long run. And it's such an important thing to remember.
Yeah, now I guess it's a great segue into our personal part of our journey. So, we're not going to give you a whole total breakdown of everything we're doing, what's going on, but week after week, usually there's something at the forefront of our focus and what's happening. And I guess a quick breakdown for me is I'm in a bulk right now, which is nice, not an aggressive bulk, definitely more of a lean bulk. I'm going about half a pound a week, starting to push that up. I'm in a calorie surplus of about 400, 500 calories, which has been really nice. And I've been using that extra fuel to challenge myself to actively get stronger, to perform harder, to have no junk volume. And I definitely do want to put on some really good quality muscle and strength. We're also doing like a little mock powerlifting meet with one of our buddies real soon, which is going to be absolutely awesome in about 6 weeks. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I've been working really hard to make sure I can really move some good weight for that, because even Kyle's been mentioning a lot, it doesn't matter what you did yesterday, it's what you can do today still. Like everyone, there's like a running joke too that anytime you meet like 40 or 50-year-old dad and you tell them like you go to the gym or something, they'll say, I used to bench press 500 pounds in high school. Like everyone always has these glory days stories of what they did, but it's like, hey, what can you do now? Like challenge yourself to make sure you're still putting up big weight, you're still making big moves. And I thought that was really cool. So that's kind of what I'm doing now, pushing the muscle, continuing to grow. And one thing I've been mindful of is it's easy to say, oh, I'm in a bulk, it doesn't matter that much. But regulating your intake of calories is almost more important than a bulk, because you want to really say, am I actually gaining on this net amount of calories, or am I gaining because there's this one day where I'm way off? Is there most days am I neglecting to log like an extra 500 versus some days not? And it's really hard to find that balance. So normally you think of logging accuracy and tying that up when you're cutting. But I've been trying to say to myself, like, where can I go one more? Where can I get the advantage where most people wouldn't go looking for it? Because they'll say, oh, I'm bulking, I'm going to be lazier, I'm going to eat crappier food, I'm not going to be accurate with my tracking, I'm not going to fill up my fitness pal. Like all these little things that, like, in theory, I guess you can kind of get away with, but you're hurting yourself from getting your full potential. So even for me, it's like, okay, where a lot of people soften and loosen up here, and this is like after 10 years, you got to keep it interesting. But for me, I'm like, okay, I want my log to be ultra perfect this week, get all my weigh-ins in, just do those basics that I know pay off, and really know that my rate of surplus is really regulated and good, because you're going to gain the most muscle when you're consistently having your body in a relative surplus, not that you're just here and there eating a ton of food and putting on half a pound from like a really bad session. Instead, by regulating that, you can really put on more muscle effectively that way and store less fat. So that's where I've been putting some of my efforts. And example for that, and this is actually our challenge this week for our coaching clients. So every week we post an additional challenge as a community that we all go through, and it's just logging accuracy. And an example is I've had like this random whipped cream in my fridge, and I just like on my Greek yogurt for fun today, I put it on, and normally you go, oh, it's only like 50 calories. Like I'm not caking it or anything here, but I was using it up. I'm like, this will kind of be fun. And it's easy to say, oh, it's only 50 calories. But you do that 5 times throughout the day, which is super common. You have like, I eat a couple of like my son's goldfish or something, like that can be 250 calories or more easily. And that can really screw up my numbers. And it's like, why track if you're not going to do it properly? It takes 2 seconds. And like those little inches, the sauces, the milks in your coffee, the creams, like really just doing things right. I mentioned before, how you do anything is how you do everything. So that's kind of where my focus is being nutritionally this week. And then past that, just training super hard.
Yeah, it's been fun training hard, because when Josh had sent me a text like about 6 weeks ago, he said, hey, me, you, and Jeremy, we're testing our numbers in 12 weeks. Let's go. And I felt like that was the push that I needed. So of course I was doing the boring work, as I was saying, but I just think there's so many different ways to kind of spice things up a little bit while still doing the boring work, kind of still showing up, still hitting my compounds, doing these things where I'm kind of like, I was getting a little bit complacent. I was going through the motions. So like, I just honestly, like anytime you need a bit of a push, like truthfully, whoever it is in your life that you can have these challenges with, like I can guarantee you, even if you're not the most competitive person, it can definitely light a fire under your butt, because no one wants to lose. Everyone wants to show up on a specific day, whether it's a weight loss challenge, a step challenge, weight lifted. You want to be your best. Like when you show up, you want to say, hey, I tried. And it's also so fulfilling when you do show up for yourself for 12 weeks, for 16 weeks, whatever it is. So that's been amazing. Been following the program to a T, 6 weeks in. And then just also building up, trying to do a lean bulk as well, similar to Josh. And one thing I've been realizing is that I wasn't giving myself as big of a surplus. Like I move so much, and I love moving. I love biking. I love walking a ton and all this stuff. And so as I've been monitoring my progress, keeping track in the spreadsheet, making sure to weigh in as much as I can, I was like, hey, I guess things are a little bit different this time around. I move a lot, I walk a ton, and I love sports. So I was like, you know what? I've just got to go above and beyond. I've got to increase my calories even more if I do want to see this actual muscle being gained. So that's where I'm at, just testing different numbers, just challenging myself, trying not to be complacent, and hopefully that helps in some way or another, and you can relate. And that's where we're at for this current week.
Yeah, next week there'll be something entirely different we're narrowing in on, and it's hard to be 100% perfect on every area, and the goal obviously is to get more and more optimal with that. But I find these little tune-ups are like hyper accuracy with logging, and that effect will carry, and I'll just remind myself of that. And then maybe next week there'll be a gym thing we're working on, or a struggle we're working through, or whatever it may be. And I think this will be really fun for everyone to hear kind of where we're at. And if you want to see more visuals of that, obviously we're posting a lot of content on Instagram. You can see how our physiques are looking. You can see the exercises we're doing, the reels, the funny content. Like, really just keep up to us, obviously, on more of a visual point. And I think there's a lot of value to be had there. And we really try to make sure our Instagram is value first. So definitely be sure to follow us there at Colossusfit, COLOSSUSFIT. Listen, if you hear me say it every week and you haven't followed yet, this is the time. I'm calling you out. Get over there. I promise you there's a lot of good content. You love our podcast. You're going to love our Instagram. Now we're going to go ahead and jump into our client shout out. Who do we got?
So this week we have Cam, who has lost about 30 pounds now. And the best part is he has done this all while being deployed overseas. And this can kind of relate to my quote today, which is do whatever it is you want to do before you're ready. Start before you're ready. And it's so amazing because I know so many people who can only succeed when the situation is perfect. Like we were talking about before, it would have been easy for Cam to say, hey, I'll wait until this certain date when I'm back and I'm ready in a different routine. And we've had a lot of people overseas, a lot of people who, have young kids, like whatever the situation is. When we started this coaching business, this process, the trying to help people out, our biggest mission, and when we sat down, we're like, how can we help more people based off of where they're at in their situation? And that's where having a coach comes in handy, because for what Cam's going to do it's going to be completely different than what that new mother who has 5 kids is going to be doing. And that's where so many people struggle, is they try to do this thing, they follow a meal plan, they search macro plan and meal plan, and it's like this bodybuilder who has unlimited time. And so once again, our biggest mission is to meet you where you're at, create workouts based off of your situation. Cam's gym situation and what he has is completely different. So either way, you can see his transformation on the screen if you're watching on YouTube, also on Instagram, his testimonial video, his top tips, his photos, and even a couple of his things he said. It was pretty powerful. He said one of his biggest tips was just ask questions to your trainer. He said, if you don't know something, ask. The only stupid question is the one not asked. And he also said food is not the enemy. Your relationship with food can change with proper guidance and direction, and you don't need to starve yourself. So very powerful. If you're looking to get to that next level, looking to lose fat, and you're just tired of struggling and you want to see the success that you deserve, make sure to send us a message with the keyword fat loss, once again, to our Instagram that Josh had mentioned, Colossusfit, COLOSSUSFIT. I can guarantee you'll be a completely different person 90 days from now. It is a paid program, but we will change your life.
Yeah, if you're sick and tired of having unwanted fat and seeing it when you go out, seeing it in your clothes and your photos, and it's just there haunting you and you can see it getting worse, like, this is your chance to nip that in the bud, to see that change, and to really actually get that progress you deserve. Because as we always say, if you're not progressing, you're regressing, or if you're not growing, you're dying. And unfortunately, it's a sad truth. Like, if it's being put on, that's okay. Like, I recommend you come to us. We've helped now thousands of people see this change, overcome any obstacle that's in their way. And the reality is, if it's getting worse, it's going to keep getting worse. And like Kyle said, don't let it just be one day. Like, let that someday be today. That's your chance. Message us on Instagram, fat loss, if you are looking to lose that unwanted fat, put on new muscle, and just change your composition for the better. We'll guarantee your results together. And once again, like, we're just so passionate and excited to work one-on-one. If you love this podcast, just imagine what we can do when we're there with you to solve your problems for you, because you got a lot going on in your life. You got other things to worry about than exact perfect programming and what you should be eating and all these different things. Instead, we lay it out, we make it simple. Simple is easy and easy is doable, and that's one of the best ways. I think it's the best way to have a transformation. So once again, message us on Instagram with the keyword fat loss. That way we'll know you came from here. We're going to give you a really special deal for the people that are able to take that leap. They see the value of investing in themselves today. So once again, Colossusfit on Instagram, keyword fat loss. Now into our questions. So the first one's a fun one. How to get a fitness sponsor. I love it and want to get some free clothes and recognition. You might say, what the heck does this have to do with me? But me and Kyle actually have a lot to say here. So a lot of people, they'll start working out, they'll look pretty good, they'll get fired up. I think more than ever, people are making their fitness Instagrams. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I think anytime anyone's excited about fitness and they're sharing and they're documenting for the right reason, I think it's fantastic. And as long as those people are happy doing it, I have no problem. Like a lot of people say, oh, it's so crowded now, don't you find? And I just feel like there's a lot of space for everyone to succeed. And even you, like getting in shape, like when people sign up with us, they're the first person in their family to try and make change. They start changing and their family goes, what the heck? They did it. I have the same genetics as them. I can do it. And then they do it. And then they inspire one of their friends who inspires someone. And I think really massive change starts from that small scale. So it's always really nice seeing people change like that. But with these fitness Instagrams especially, there's a lot of these affiliate companies. And I think in terms of sponsorships, a lot of people think makes them look super cool and they get all this stuff. So I think the lowest grade of sponsorship that's so common, and I'm sorry if this is you, I mean, I think you got to learn eventually, but you get reached out, they'll say they want to sponsor you, they want you as one of their athletes, and maybe you have 100 followers, 200 followers, 5,000 followers, whatever, like not enough for it to be a really lucrative brand deal, and they'll offer you clothing at like a 40% discount, and whenever you send it to your friends, they get 30% off and you get 5% of the sale. But all they're doing is having you pay for their clothing for you to market for them and get a teeny tiny kickback that you're not really going to see. And like it's super affiliate-y, it's like almost pyramid schemey. And like I would just avoid it because you're going to take away from sharing your journey, motivating others, and instead you're just like really pushing this random brand that doesn't do much that you probably wouldn't have bought beforehand anyways. And I get it's cool, the desire to be sponsored. And even for me coming from being a skateboarder, that was my goal. I'm like, I want to be sponsored. I want free stuff. I want to be that cool person. But I think too, like if your goal is to get these big brand deals and do all these massive things, like the worst thing you can do is go into it trying to do these things. Like if you just do what you do well and you really have a great message, like they will come. Like me and Kyle probably get like 6 emails a day of different people that want to do stuff. And we personally don't really do hardly anything, maybe like 1 out of 100, because we don't believe in promoting things we're not proud of. And that's why the only thing we promote on here is our coaching, because we're proud of it. It works. We create transformations. What fulfills us. Like I love taking someone who has this massive problem, who can't solve it, and just showing them that they're capable of so much more, and then more and more and more, and unlocking that full potential and solving that problem. I can't say I'm as passionate about. We get some weird stuff. I don't even know. Like I think we got one for like a home float tank recently. We got one for, I don't even know. Like I try not to look at our email too much because people just spam it with different sponsorships. But we have in the past. We were sponsored by a company called EHP Labs. Really good things to say about them. Their product was good. I really liked their protein. We actually took their like pre-workout quite regularly. Like it was solid stuff. We liked it and we were happy to be on there. But as an athlete too, there's a lot expected of you. You have to sign a contract, you have to promote a bunch, you have to do a lot of things. And I think a lot of the time it's not really worth compromising your brand, especially if you're not overly passionate, because you're forced to share all these things. And that's kind of my attitude towards it. I think if you're super big, companies will beg and you can kind of set the terms, and that's when you should be more concerned about it. But if that's your ultimate goal, like I'd kind of just ask why. I think there's better reasons. I think you can just buy what you like. You can have freedom. And even for us, there were just times like, I'd love to use a different pre-workout or whatever. And that's kind of my attitude towards it. But obviously I get it's more novel and exciting when it hasn't happened before. But yeah, we've been on, I think, a couple different supplement things, and we've just kind of chosen to just say what we like, to not really be under anyone's thumb, to promote it a certain way, to stay away from any controversies the brand may have. Like, I just think there's so many different angles on this. And I think a lot of people, I mean, if you're listening to this, I'm sure it's very interesting as someone who probably sees this whole world and wonder how it works. So there's some of my inside info, but I'm sure Kyle will have some amazing thoughts here.
Yeah, we've done a lot of things between My Protein, that was before EHP Labs.
Fitmark.
Yeah, Fitmark bags where they'd give us like a lunch bag and, you know, just like
Bad Boy MMA, that was an interesting one.
We got sent a bunch of clothes, from like this like boxing type company. Like it was cool, but like it was just, I didn't even really like the stuff, and like I was wearing it and it's just one of those things. I like what Josh said there, where you just like, if you want to switch to a new pre-workout and you decide to do it, like, I think one of the biggest things for me is just like, just avoiding all like the noise, avoid being diluted, avoiding like all that stuff. Like, even just to working off of Josh's point there, I was using a bunch of stuff where it was kind of just like, I don't even really care for it, but it's free and it's here. So I'm like, whatever, I'll have it. But like now when I place my order every month or every 2 months, I just get my creatine, I just get a little bit of pre-workout, and I don't even really use protein anymore now, like maybe 1 scoop every 2 weeks. And it's just very nice to be able to just like focus on what matters. And especially when it comes down to it, like everyone's life is so busy. And if you're just being pulled in like a million different directions, like for us, it's our coaching business is what we focus on. We post what we want. There's no kind of like person behind the scenes saying, hey, you're going to toss in that supplement, today's Black Friday, let's go. And like we just do what we want, and we focus on our content and helping our clients. Like those are our biggest things. And it's nice to like you see some people with like 17 different links, and it's confusing. So anyways, it's not what it's all made out to be. Like, I'm not trying to sound sour or anything, but like after being in it for 10 years of having a bunch of different things, like we'd get like a free t-shirt here and there from this place called Lift Nation, and it was cool and all, but I'm like, we're doing all this stuff for like a t-shirt. So like, I'd rather just buy something I really like and go from there. So just a random thought, but if this is something you're really striving for, I'd say the big thing is just to really just show up on your page, be authentic, grow your following in terms of just adding value. Like sometimes people will say, hey, I'm looking to reach this next level and I want to share and help more people and reach out to these different companies. Like, what do you suggest? And I'll see their page, and it's just all about them. It's like, this is how strong I am. This is how great I look. This all about me. And once we started to make that shift years ago on YouTube, that's when things started to grow, because we're like, hey, we can help more people. Let's show someone how to do a lat pull down. Like, let's not show how much I lat pull down because I'm trying to show off, but it's like, I want to help someone from across the world. We end up helping 2 million people on that video, and we started to get onto something. And that's where I think a lot of people struggle with the media, the marketing, the brand side of things. Is just like, you got to be able to just add value, help people, and it'll all come together in the long run.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan too. Like, if you really do love a company and you're getting a little bit of a following, like, reach out and see if there's something that can be done, or maybe they'll send you some clothing or whatever it may be. But oftentimes I just find it's a lot of hassle and takes away from probably what you can do well, or just building up yourself more, because I think eventually you can be so big that you can be like someone that you can kind of make choices, you can go about it your own way, and you can just get what you like. So a lot of different takes there, but I knew that'd be a fun one. We wanted to answer something a little different, and perhaps you learned a little bit more about the fitness industry. And we've been around a lot of the big names, all the different social media. So any more like behind the scenes fitness industry questions, comment them down below in the Spotify like Q&A section here. We will see them, and we'd be happy to talk more about all this great stuff. And the next one was another old question I want to touch on again, which is, what are your biggest gym pet peeves? So in general, I can't say I have too many crazy pet peeves, but there's definitely a few things that do bug me. I think the worst is like people that really do hoard a machine. So there will be people who will be on a machine for 40 minutes and they'll be on their phone for a majority of it, or they'll be using 6 machines. I think that is just hands down the worst thing. If you're actually using it and you got to do a ton of sets and you're taking a rest, entirely different situation than just hogging it, or really, I would say, using machines incorrectly. Like, I remember we were at a gym in Florida, there's only 2 bench presses, and there was someone on the actual bench press using it to do calf raises on it. Like, they were standing on top of it doing calf raises. And it's like, there's 2 bench presses where you're actually able to bench in this whole gym, and someone's doing calf raises. So that kind of hurt my soul. So I would just say, like, yeah, doing that. Some other ones I wrote down were not like putting your weights back. Like, it's just kind of unnecessary. It's not like you got to be the world's most perfect person with this, but you'll just see people leaving like 100 pounds in a corner, and I'll try and do what I can to put it away, or they won't put plates back whatsoever. They'll finish benching 315 and they'll leave it there. Like, I just feel like that's disrespectful at that point. What I get is like a leg press, if you want to leave on a plate, I'd say 90% of people can do at least a plate. There may be someone who has to take it off, but I don't know if that's the worst thing in the world. But in general, just if you're trying to be considerate, I think that's all anyone really cares about. And then I'd say my last one is just hygiene. Like, even me yesterday, I was in the gym and I'm like, oh, I can kind of smell myself a bit. I'm smelling all right. I'm sweating a little too much. You just go to the change room, throw on some deodorant, you smell great. Like, just having a little bit of concern for people around you, because there's people that can absolutely stink and it just makes you not want to work out. You're like, oh my gosh, like I get you might be showering after your workout, but I think you got to go in there with some concern, like some care that you don't smell absolutely horrible, because it's just hard. Like even the other day, like someone was like probably 15 feet away from us and Kyle's like, oh my gosh, like that's killing me. Like it just kind of kills your focus. So main thing I would just say is just being considerate. And like the other thing too, I'd say the last one, I don't know why, but we had 2 funny incidents of just people just being weird with me. And I mentioned it before and I think I handled it well, but just people being overly aggressive for no reason. And I think this is more like guys to guys, because I think also people will see like how I am. Like I'm a big person, I'm tall, I lift a lot of weight, I'm pretty focused, and I can be pretty dialed in and intense looking. But like even, it's funny, my brother who coaches for us, he also made a funny reel where it's like when you talk to that big guy in the gym and like it's so nice, so happy, so willing to help. And one thing I've always found is like the bigger, the scarier the person in the gym, without fail, like there's some dudes where I'm like, this guy looks like he's like a super villain in a TV show. He's like jacked beyond belief. Like he's got crazy tats, whatever, face tats. You talk to him like, hey man, so great to meet you. And you're like, whoa, like without fail, people are so nice in there. But I think some guys also will think it's like a contest and they'll be like overly aggressive or something for no reason. It's like, bro, I don't care. Like it's funny too, when you start lifting, like a lot of guys size each other up and compare weights and stuff. I could care less what anyone else does. If someone came over and put on just 5 pounds more than me, I could care less. Like I've just been doing it so long, like I'm really just focused on myself. I can't say I care about other people. And some people just be aggressive for no reason, or if you're asking something nice to them, they get upset about it. So those are mine. I'm sure Kyle has his. Let's hear him.
I think the biggest thing is just like it all encompasses into this one theory, which Josh had already pretty much talked about the entire time, was just like people who have a lack of respect for others, like they think that it's their own space, like no one else is around, and they're the only ones that matter. And I see this happen. There's always that, I'd say like one or two people, like not every day, but like you'll just kind of witness it. I'm like, holy, I'm like taking up 6 machines. If you run over and you say, hey, you mind if I use that? They're like, oh no, I'm using that. And they'll just superset, not putting their stuff away. Like Josh said, like, you know, you see every day, like someone will leave 8 plates on each side of the leg press, and it's like you're not the only person in the gym. You know, I don't mind, you don't have to wipe things down perfectly, but like someone will just sweat like crazy and just like leave it drenched. You go to bench press and you're like, man, like, you know, you're not the only person in there. So I think for me, the best thing that's helped me just over the years, it's just like realizing there's so many amazing people there. And like anytime I leave a machine, I leave it the way that, you know, I found it. Sometimes I'll be taking plates off if some people, you know, if I found it that way. But I think that's where a lot of people can do better. I know some people struggle with that, but it drives me nuts when I'm just like, man, like there's so many people in here. It's a shared space. Like if you want to do whatever it is you want and just grunt and scream and run around and use 20 different things, that's awesome. Create a home gym, you know, like everyone's paying the same fee here. And that's something that I guess has been interesting to navigate as we've tried different gyms over the years. But I'd say for the most part, 99.5% of people are super awesome. Another thing that's been interesting, I haven't got this much, but I know some people will get it. It is interesting, is like unnecessary advice, like uncalled for, unasked for advice. I guess I've got a handful of times over the years, but I think some people mean well, but at the same time, it is interesting when someone will come in and say, hey, you're doing something wrong. Like, you know, I hurt myself back in the day. Like you should completely switch this. And I get that some people care about you and they're trying to help out, but I have heard different stories of, you know, clients and just other situations where people are just going around like just, you know, just trying to give tips to everyone. And I guess it's different. Maybe some people will be personal trainers, some people, you know, it really depends. So that's where it's a little bit of a tricky one, but like I can't say I really appreciate it when, you know, I'm just like someone will come up, and I guess it depends on the demeanor. Someone used to say, hey, you should be wearing a belt for everything. I'm like, no, like we're like, that's not the case. Like there's this one guy who would do that, and I guess it's just a small thing. He's trying to look out. I get it, but I'm like, I'm here to work out. I'm here to focus. Like I'm not, as a trainer, I'm not here walking around giving everyone advice as well. But that's just a random small thing that I wanted to share as well.
Yeah, so fun episode here. We wanted to take a different angle with it. And I guess our last question was, how do you measure progress in your fitness journey? So I actually shared all of my top ways on our Instagram story with visual examples from clients, why we do them and the times we do them. So once again, if you're not following us, you're missing out. Like, we're trying to just help everyone here become fit, healthy, and happy the best way possible. But let's hear what Kyle has to say about this.
So jumping into it, like, first off, I think where people struggle is they're making progress in some way or another. They may not realize it because they're only keeping track in one way, and they're not using all the great measurement tools available, like measurements alone as well. Like, we try to take measurements every single month on a specific day, the chest, the shoulders, obviously the glutes, the quads, the calves. For anyone that's one of our clients, we actually have a category in the spreadsheet. So we keep track of everything that you need. And that's why, of course, this journey and our coaching service can help you so much, because if you don't keep track properly and have accurate data, how do you know you're progressing? So, like, just with the spreadsheet in mind, I'll actually put a small little example just so you can see it on the screen if you are watching on YouTube, just to give you some insight and visuals. And once again, if you'd love to work with us, send us a message with the keyword fat loss. We will guarantee and get you some incredible results. But the daily weigh-ins help us keep track, so that way each week we can calculate the average. If you're someone who's just weighing in and you're 173 today, tomorrow you're 175, and then you're like, man, I gained 2 pounds. You're doing it wrong because you're not keeping track of the average weigh-in, and that's why it's so important to keep track of that. Measurements, taking monthly photos. I know some people like doing weekly photos, bi-weekly. I just find monthly is like the most perfect time. But past that, how you feel is an incredible thing to consider. We actually have an episode coming up talking about how to increase your energy levels, how to feel better day to day. That alone, like, when some people start, that's an amazing way to monitor your progress. How your clothes are fitting. Like, we get messages all the time. I just had my client Stephanie. She said, hey, I've got a bit of a problem. I'm actually 2 sizes down. I'm trying to navigate this. I have to buy new clothes. That's amazing. Like, she hasn't lost 50 pounds. She's actually only lost about, I think, 7 or 8 pounds right now. She's a smaller frame person, but that's incredible. Like, inches are coming off, your clothes are feeling better, your energy's up, strength training, keeping track of how much weight you're using. And there's a million different non-scale victories that I can jump into as well. But those are the biggest things. Of course, how your mood is, of course, how you sleep, of course, all these other things can be you can keep track of, but these to me are the biggest things that I hope you are really considering. And if you're not, it's not too late to jump on it now.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Once again, if you like this episode, you have any comments about it, anything you want to say to us, we will see every response just in Spotify. If you want to type something, I actually meant to read some of them out. So next time I'll get them prepped. We'll give a shout out of one of the responses, maybe in the episode each time, assuming people do it. I know they always implement all these new different tools, but it's really helpful for us to get feedback, and anything you can offer us. Sometimes people will make a suggestion and say, hey, you guys could do better with this. You could improve this. We want this episode to be the best, most easily digestible, consumable, amazing piece of content for people who want to become fitter, healthier, and happier. And we just want it to be a ton of value. So any way you can help us do a better job of that, that means a lot. But as always, if you liked it, just thanks as always. Leave a review. We're close to 2,000 reviews. Would really mean the world. On Spotify, once again, that is. Apple, we don't forget about you either. We read those too. So anywhere you can leave a review, subscribe on YouTube, just help us out with that. That means the world. But we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.